welcome back to the 2017 Road to the Arnold Classic, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is IFBB Pro, Fouad Abiad. Welcome.
How's it going, everybody? It's good to be on with you guys.
Yeah, good to get you back. We love to talk to you because you're one of the true hardcore lifters that we still got in our community. I interviewed Guy Cisternino the other day, and I said, Fouad is like your counterpart in the Oprah division. So, you got the Arnold Classic coming up in less than 2 weeks. I know you're more focused than ever on this show. Talk to me a little bit of why this show is one of the most important you've ever competed in.
It's pretty simple, man. I have been a pro now for 10 years. And, I didn't plan on competing past 40. I'm already 38. So I have never done a big show, any of the Arnolds or the Olympia, and been at my best. Somehow I always self-sabotage. I get scared. The size of the show freaks me out. Some shit happens, and I end up either spilling over or not in shape or something. And I wanted to do one show before I left bodybuilding, one big show. And this show is my favorite, believe it or not, more so than the Olympia. I've been going to this show since I was like 20 years old. We drive from Windsor, which is across from Detroit.
Right.
We used to drive to the show all the time. So this is my favorite show. So I wanted to do this show one time and be at my very best.
Well, this year's lineup, obviously, wide open. No superstars in the lineup, although there's a lot of good competitors, but guys that you've been able to match up against in the past. Does that give you like a level of excitement about this show that, hey, I can do well here?
I personally don't see it as not having superstars. I mean, sure, there's not like top 5 at the Olympia, but like Lionel Bayecki at his best is in my opinion, a top 6 Olympian. When he's at his best. You got Cedric, who almost beat Kai last year. Dallas. You got Luke Sandow. So there's a lot of great guys. So I don't even think they have anything to do with it, believe it or not. I don't even care like if Kai decided to do the show tomorrow. It's weird this time around. Whoever else is doing the show has nothing to do with it for me. I literally just want to be able to walk on there and people go, holy shit. He looks better than he's ever looked, and he did it again at 38. He's still getting better.
Well, obviously, more focused than ever. I know you're working with John Meadows as your coach, and you told me off camera a little while ago that one of the most important things about this year was that you really kind of stopped thinking, and you kind of just allowed yourself to listen to your coach. Why that change?
What happens to a lot of us. I don't know if it happened to you in your career. I'm not sure if you had a coach or not, but you probably coached yourself. But
George Farris said he coached me one year, but he really didn't.
George Farris said he coached everybody. He waits till you win, and then he takes a picture next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, what I was going to say was a lot of us, as we get through our careers, in my 20s, I used to just, I work with Chad Nichols, I work with Hani Rambod. If they said, go eat dirt off the floor, I would go eat dirt off the floor. But it's like after I hit 30, I started to learn what corners I could cut. I can get away with eating this piece of rice. I can get away with eating a few more almonds, whatever, right? So you learn to, I don't know, it kind of sucks. It sounds like I'm being an ass, but you learn to cut corners and still get away with it. And the one thing I told myself when I started this prep was I'm not going to do anything. And the thing is, John leaves you room for change. Like he'll say, if you want to substitute this carb for that carb, I don't care. You do what you want, whatever you like to eat. Like for Orlando, when I won in 2015, I think all I ate was egg whites and cream of rice because those are my favorite things to eat during prep. So I was just eating them like every meal. But I decided that this year I was going to take whatever diet he gave me and I was going to do exactly what was in the plan. And so far it's worked pretty well.
Now, you had a little mishap about a week ago. Tell us about what happened.
I had no cheat meals for about 9 weeks, which was driving me insane because the way me and John work is I'm used to having one every week or two, which I don't think is necessary. It's just the way I got into my mode with all my preps. But anyway, so I had gone 9 weeks without a prep, and I went kind of crazy when finally did have a cheat. and I think my water was imbalanced because I was really, really pumped one day at the gym a couple days after my cheat. I put on about 10 pounds of water. It was bad anyways, but I was squatting and I felt my sartorius area, adductor, your inner quad. I felt it pop pretty hard, and it was the same feeling I had last year because I tore my lat 4 weeks out from Toronto. And last year when I tore my lat before Toronto, I kind of just gave up. I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to win the show. Okay. I went home and I started binging. And by the time I tried to get back to it, I couldn't make up the ground, and I ended up kind of fat on stage. And I actually think had I been in shape, I could have beat Nathan and Max because they had me in the middle at that show, and I started to spill, and I ended up in third. And I kind of learned my lesson from last year. When I tore my quad, I said, you know what? I don't give a shit. I went home, I put my fish and rice on the stove, and I put some ice on my leg, and the next morning I was doing cardio. I didn't get on the step mill because I couldn't do the step mill, but I got on the elliptical, and I've been doing the elliptical every morning since. And I haven't missed a beat. I didn't cheat. I didn't have an extra piece of anything. I didn't miss a cardio session. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to do it. So, torn quad or not, man, I want to get to the show.
Well, that's a good attitude to have. And I tell people a lot, when I saw the 97 Mr. Olympia in Long Beach, California, and I saw Dorian win number 6, and then I found out afterwards what he went through to get to that stage because he had torn his quad, he had torn his tricep, he was bleeding, he had to have blood transfusions. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, he wasn't his best at the 97 Olympia, but he found a way to win, and that's really what champions do. They somehow find a way, no matter what the adversity around them, to win, whereas most people quit, they cry, they disappear. And I always respected that about him because it had to be driving him crazy. He had to say to himself, how can I get on stage with all these problems? But he did it. Yeah. And I think that's an important attitude that you have. You can't allow things to get in your way, obstacles to enable you to be the best that you are. You can't use them as excuses, in other words.
I think for me, it's been a mental toughness that's come with maturity because 5 years ago, even had this happened, I would have been like, no, I'm done. Well, I mean, even last year, take for example, I rallied back and I came back and got a third place, but I wanted to quit because I got this mindset somewhere where everything has to be perfect to get on stage, and it's never perfect.
Nope.
Nothing's ever perfect. It never ends up perfect. So I'm like, fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to do it the way it is. And yeah, like you said, people have done it before me. I'm not the first. So
now you have that nickname Hoss because you're a workhorse in the gym, and that's always been your calling card, so to speak. How do you keep yourself so motivated? I mean, you've been doing this a long time now. How do you keep getting motivated to go back to the gym and pound it out again?
Somebody asked me this the other day, and I'm going to give you probably the worst answer I could probably give you. I just love it, man. I know that sounds so stupid and so cliche and too simple an answer, but you don't have to get motivated if you love something. Like, there's nothing to get motivated about. I love to be there. I don't like to go to the gym. If I go to the gym and I leave there and I feel like I didn't do enough, it's a depressing thing for me. Like, I like to go there and torture my body and leave and feel like I accomplished something. But I mean, the secondary motivation is I'm a competitive person and I want to be better, and I don't want to be known as a journeyman bodybuilder, and I'd like to finish out my career on a high note. So I'm going to keep going until the last day. You know what I mean?
Guy Cisternino said it to me. He said, hey, you know what? I don't even care about competing. I just love to train. He goes, I would train no matter what. I only compete because I train so much. He goes, I don't train so much because I'm a competitor. And I thought that was an interesting differentiation. He just loves to work out.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I said to my wife, actually, it's funny, about an hour ago, I said, I think my favorite part of the prep is up until the very last week. I just like torturing myself to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And then once I'm ready, I'm like, okay, I don't got to do this anymore.
Right.
So the actual stage part is kind of more for everybody else. Like, I actually just love the challenge of forcing my body to do something it doesn't want to do.
A lot of people wrote you off, after, the last couple of years, and then in 2015 you came back, with a surge, so to speak. 2 pro wins. You also got a second place at the Tampa Pro. So I mean, you could have theoretically. A lot of people thought you had 3 pro wins that year. I mean, that was a stellar year for you. Obviously, last year you tore the lat, kind of set you back. Was that depressing last year because of the fact that you had so much momentum from the year before built up?
In a way, yes, and in a way, no. The thing is this: to me, no, but in the bodybuilding world, yes, because bodybuilding fans are fickle, man. There's some that are loyal and remember your career through and through, but there's a large majority that only remember your last show. So in 15, I crushed every show I entered, and was my own personal best every time. And everybody was, oh, you're great, you're doing great, you're back, whatever. And then a year later, I don't do well, and all of a sudden, all those people are gone, and people are telling me my stock is down. And I'm like, well, it's 1 year different. Like, it's one show, man. So it's just the way bodybuilding is. It's like you're only as good as your last show. So, but to me, I kind of know I've always had what it takes to stand up there. It's just always been, it's always been a mental block somewhere. There's always been a mental block somewhere, either at a big show or having trouble believing in myself in a way of standing with certain people, or there's always been something somewhere. And I think in 15, everything just clicked. I started working with John, and I was working with Dennis before, and they both kind of set me down a good path. And I ended up in a good place. And I think I got my body going to where it needs to be, because there came a point where I was overworking everything, and with John, he taught me to kind of scale back a bit, and I think it made my body actually a little bit better. So that was part of the reason I wanted to do this show, is because people were like, I mean, not that I do anything for fans, but I did talk to some people, and they said, look, your stock is down after Toronto. People think that, 15 was a fluke. And that, in combination with wanting to prove to myself that I could show up at the Arnold's at my best, made me decide that I'm going to do the big show and show people that I know I belong here. So,
what do you think you weigh on stage?
I want to say 260. I was 258, wow. 258 in Orlando and 255 in Vancouver. I was 257 this morning, and I'm pretty much there now.
Very cool.
So I think by the time I deplete water, carb load, I should be in that 255 to 260 range somewhere.
Nice. Are you going to shave the beard?
Of course. I know the IFBB is not a fan of the scruffy look, so I'll probably trim it down and clean it up and all that shit. So
yeah. Gotcha.
It makes me look old anyway. I got some fucking grays in there now.
You got to use a little just for men. Now, let me ask you a question. I had heard on social media you had put it out there that you would like to be a participant in our original RXMuscle TV programming, Iron Debate. Is that true?
Man, I watched some of your stuff. I just want to say something. I hate your show more than more than I hate the gym funk that's in my cardio clothes after I wear them 10 times.
I like it. That's a good one. You might be right up there with some of the best.
No, you know what? You guys have some of these people on it. I don't want to name names, but you're going to know what I'm talking about. You have some guests on that don't represent us.
Right.
They don't represent bodybuilders. Mm-hmm. They represent drama. They represent people that aren't really fans of bodybuilding, but I don't know how to describe it. They're dangerous for the sport. They're not good for the sport. They send the wrong message. Like the one guy you have on, first of all, is going to get somebody killed. Like somebody's going to die because of the shit he's putting out. That's number one. So that is wrong. I wouldn't even give that guy the time of day. Number two, that same guy is bad for the sport because he says things like, oh, I don't even go to expos. Expos are stupid. I'm too good for that. And it's kind of like, that's kind of shitting all over the whole sport. I remember being ages 20 and 30. I think I went to the Arnold's every single year just to go to the expo.
Right.
I remember only going to the show a couple times.
Yep.
So some of these people that you're having on that are too cool for bodybuilding, or bodybuilding doesn't make any money, or you got to take 8 million fucking milligrams of drugs a week to look good, even though the guy looks like shit. These fucking people don't belong on the air, man. You know, like they don't represent bodybuilding. They don't represent real bodybuilders.
Well, we'll get you on. I'll tell you the truth. You know what the problem is, Fouad? Very few bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders out there, are afraid to, will come on the show and actually speak their mind. You, Guy, Jose might be the rare occurrences, but a lot of people are afraid to come on and give a strong opinion like you just did, you know?
Well, this is the thing. I don't think any bodybuilder is scared to say what I'm saying. I think what bodybuilders are scared of is they don't want to come on here and start spewing out protocols and tell people I did this and I do that and this is what I do. Because number one, we don't want to get anybody hurt. Number two, that's our own private business. Number three, there's other avenues to learn about that kind of thing. So, you know, you don't need to hear it from me because, like I said, everyone's different anyway. So whatever I do is my own thing. But I bet you could get any bodybuilder to come on here and say, hey, that guy doesn't represent me.
Right.
Because that guy, these guys that sensationalize bodybuilding and are creating a niche for themselves to make money, they're great. They're great. They're WWE great. Okay? They're not true bodybuilding great. They're good. They're good for drama. They're good for us to have a laugh at. But they don't represent me and they don't represent any other pros.
Right.
And, you know, I just don't think, I think people that have some substance are people that you should be given time to.
I agree. If I can only get them to come on. Now I know that you're going to come on. I'm going to get you on Iron Debate. So you're booked. I'm booking you for a future show. And we're going to talk about some of these topics that you just brought up. I have one question. A fan just submitted a question. They want to know about this band training you do. They see you do a lot of bands in some of your videos and stuff like that. What's that all about?
Well, that's a John Meadows principle. Well, it's not. I don't know if John Meadows didn't create it, but John Meadows taught me about using bands. Bands are good for progressive resistance. So I'm going to try and explain it without being too boring. When you strap a band on a bar and do a squat, for example, at the bottom of the squat, that band is at its loosest, which means if I have 2 plates on the bar and the bands, when I'm at the very bottom, I'm squatting 2 plates. But as I go up and that band extends, now I'm going up to 3 plates or 4 plates or however how much resistance that band is giving me. So it's almost like using chains in a way.
Gotcha.
So I like to use bands for the progressive resistance and the negative effect, because if you're using free weights on a negative, you just drop the weight. But if you have a band set up, that weight is being pulled down on you, so you're forced to resist it. So now I'm working the muscle in 2 different directions, number one. Number two, I'm getting the progressive resistance on the way up. And the studies have shown that you can build more strength faster with progressive resistance than you can without it. Thirdly, if I have an injury, let's say my shoulder is bothering me, and I want to bench. If I can't bench 3 plates because my shoulder is bothering me, I'll strap some bands on. So at the bottom of the movement, it's 2 plates. But as I push through it, where my shoulder is actually safer, the weight will get heavier. So bands make a lot of sense. The thing is, I don't think they should be used all the time. I still like traditional lifting, but I add them as an intensity technique like anything else, like a drop set or a superset or anything else. Or if, you know, with John's system, you have like higher volume training, like more days of the week. So if I'm on a 6-day split, 2 of those days are pump days where I'm not going like heavy and destroying my central nervous system. On those days, I'll use bands to kind of activate the muscle instead of doing like a 5-plate squat. So there's many different reasons why, but some people look at it and think that bodybuilders are, it's just for Instagram or we're trying to reinvent the wheel and all this other shit, but it's not. There's actually like if you use it and you try it, you'll see there's actually a good benefit to using it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. The worst part would be the inconvenience of having to set the bands up. But once you do that, I mean, it makes complete logical sense. Especially, I think the analogy you gave with regard to the bench press was great, or dumbbell presses, because when you're coming down with the dumbbells, normally, gravity's doing it. But now you have to actually, you have extra resistance. You have to you get a better negative, effect on the dumbbell. I think that's a great idea.
It's like Dorian Yates used to say, one of the principles I've used since the very beginning of my career, because Dorian Yates said it, was the negative is 50% of the movement.
Yep.
And you're watching guys just drop weight around. The other guy that's not dropping the weight is going to grow 50% faster.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree. I used to lower the weight so slowly when I bench press, people would think I was stuck.
That's what people think. That's what they do when they see me. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm good." I'm like, "This is how I lift."
Right.
So the bands actually kind of even make it even worse because they're actually really pulling down on you.
Sure.
So there's a good benefit to them.
Definitely logical. Well, Fouad, good luck up on that Arnold stage in less than 2 weeks. Hopefully that leg heals up just in time for you to get up there and be your best. We'll be rooting for you, and when you get back from the Arnold, we're definitely going to do some iron debate stuff with you because you got some strong opinions, and I know our fans out there will demand that I have you on the show.
Okay, guys. I'm happy to be on, man. You know what? I just want to say before I go, I watch your stuff all the time. I watch the Ask Dave segments. I watch the iron debate stuff. I love your guys' show, man. It's really good. I actually wish more people watch it because you have a lot of good information on there. So thanks for having me on, though.
Thank you. And that will take us to the end of another episode of the Road to the Arnold Classic 2017, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and we'll see you soon.